Hi, my name is Alan. I'm with B&H Photo, and today we have Matt Fraser from Panasonic, and we're going to talk about a brand new camera from Panasonic that has many interesting attributes. It's the Panasonic Lumix DMC-LX100, and it is a compact, serious camera for true serious photographers, and then it also happens to do 4K video, which is something that is becoming increasingly important this day and age. Matt, can you tell us a little bit about this camera overall?
Well, this is the successor to the LX7, which frankly is a series of cameras that have been very, very successful for Panasonic. And we decided to take the camera in a direction where it gets a little bit bigger, but gives you a much larger sensor. This uses a micro 4/3 sensor versus the LX7, which was using just a small, little bit bigger than half-inch sensor. So I can fit about 4.5 of the sensors from an LX7.
That's a lot more real estate than we used to have.
Quite a bit more.
Okay.
And it's 12.8 megapixels, so it's only a almost 3 megapixel increase over the LX7, but a 4.5-fold increase in real estate for the sensor.
Yes, and that's where your tone comes in.
Right.
That's really, really good. That's important stuff. The camera has a lot of great attributes in it. Let's just start with the lens. It's a Leica zoom, and it opens up to f1.7 at its widest aperture, which is really, really exciting stuff for low light shooting. Right.
I mean, if you're an SLR shooter, a lot of SLR shooters aspire to have a 24-70.
Right.
We have a 24-75. F2.8 constant. Well, this is actually f1.7 to f2.8 constant. And the tough part for us is how do we make a compact camera with that quality of lens with a micro 4/3 sensor and not make it very big? And it required some real heavy lifting on our engineers' part to come up with some solutions. The biggest solutions are, this camera actually uses 5 aspheric elements.
Glass elements, I might add.
Yeah,
no polymer in this one.
They're all glass. And there's actually 8 aspheric surfaces, which means some of those aspheric lenses are aspheric on one side and then aspheric on the other side. And 2 of them are ED glass, so you're getting exceptionally high quality lenses here. And then to go a step further, we were really worried about the quality of the bokeh in the background. Those little bokeh balls you get in the background, and all of a sudden you see those little concentric rings. Well, we have a new milling technique for molding our aspherics that gets rid of that. So you shouldn't have any of that funky onion ring curl in your bokeh balls.
So your specular highlights essentially appear the way our eye would see it.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's how obsessive our engineers are at Panasonic. We want to make sure that it looks the same way your eye would see it.
And it only sticks out about 1 inch from the camera body, which is impressive for that. And you also have separate rings for f-stops with very clear detents. There's a focus ring right behind that. Each one has its own texture, which when I was out there using it was really nice because I was able to feel the difference. I didn't have to break concentration. I'm still looking through the finder, and with very little use with the camera, I was able to figure out where everything was and work very fluidly.
We've been working on aperture, focus ring, shutter speed wheels for about 10 years now, dating back to a design we had that was called the LC1.
Oh yeah.
That was a legendary camera that we launched in 2004. And you'll see that this design language is very similar to that camera's design language in almost every way. And we learned an awful lot over the years in how to engineer our aperture ring and our focus rings to make sure that they don't feel the same. Because that was actually a problem with the LC1.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. They were basically the exact same size, the exact same fit. They had these fidgety little buttons you had to push to switch from aperture to, it was just not as easy a design to work with. But we wanted to take what was great with the LC1, which was a very good looking, very solidly built camera with full manual controls throughout the top of the camera, and make it more modernized for today.
I know if you were to take the LC1 and put it side by side, it's as if you just literally reduced it, almost exactly.
Like I put it in the dryer on too long a cycle
Exactly.
and washed my clothes on hot.
Yes, except it came out better.
And with a much bigger sensor, 3 times the size.
Oh, by the way, the autofocus on this is really, really wonderful. When I was out using it, I was shooting down by the shore, and I had a lot of images with water and glass and reflections, and it seemed that wherever I aimed that camera and I zoomed in, It nailed focus. I don't recall it missing focus at any point. When I was too close, maybe, but that's justifiable. But it's very easy to use.
And that's because it shares the autofocus system from the GH4. It's our depth from defocus system. So we've profiled the lens. We know how blurry it looks at every focal length and every aperture. And so we know where we need to move that element based on how blurry it is, which really speeds up the autofocus system and improves the accuracy dramatically.
Yeah, it's great. Again, it works out in the field. I really like to be able to work and shoot without having to break my concentration. With this camera, I was able to just work, view, and then make adjustments on the fly. I knew where everything was right off the bat. Could you tell us a little about the lack of a PSAM switch on this?
Well, just like the LC1.
Which is a little bit discerning when you first look at it and you go, okay, where's program?
Well, like our LC1, the early version of this camera, we didn't put a PSM on that either. And what we did is we said, that just wastes time.
Yeah.
Because if we have an A for auto on the lens, we have A for shutter, well, that's P, that's program. If you want to adjust shutter speed, we don't require you to flip a switch to A. You just flip the aperture to the ring, the aperture you want, and you're there. If you want shutter, just switch the shutter. We don't need you to switch PAS and
right.
And by the way, all these functions would work for video too. So if I'm in manual for this, the minute I hit record for video, I'm now recording 4K video with full manual control if I'd like. To have access to manual controls is almost a necessity for somebody who really cares about high quality video. And then on top of that, we're including things like 24p for 4K video, along with 30p. You can do 60 frames per second, 1080 video if you'd like. You're getting a full-featured, high-end video camera. In essence, getting its DNA and engine directly from the GH4, which is well known for its video functionality, but now in a much smaller package.
The viewing system, we mentioned earlier, you actually have a choice. You have a 3-inch LCD, which has, I believe, 920,000 dots.
Yeah, 921,000.
I counted.
I know.
I only found 900.
You had your loop out, I know.
And the electronic finder, which is just enormous to have when you're shooting under bright light. This one worked really well. And I know it's even higher resolution.
I think the key here is you get a viewfinder, and you get it in a small
package.
Factor.
Yes, and there's no bump. Everything is nice and flush. It's well designed. You also have a few other features with this camera. There's the high-speed burst mode.
Right, you have 11 frames per second in burst with this camera, or if you want full-time autofocus when you do burst, you can also shoot at about 6 frames per second with the camera as well. So a great selection of burst shooting. What I like though is that in the drive function, it's not just for burst, but we have all kinds of cool additional drive functions. Like, you have bracketing, obviously.
Right.
But we have other brackets like white balance bracketing, so you can have different white balance photos if you want. And probably my favorite is aspect bracketing.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's cool because you can just take one picture, and because we have this multi-aspect sensor now that is literally about the same field of view for every shot you take, depending on what you take. Well, what you'll end up with is you just take one picture, and it just gives you 4 different aspect ratios as 4 different files.
That's a time saver.
Yeah, and it's a fun way to shoot, so no question about it. And if you're going to be posting to Instagram, or especially Instagram, usually it's a 1-to-1 aspect ratio that you post to Instagram, and you usually want to apply filter effects to it.
Right.
Well, we have a bunch of filters right on the front of the camera. So if we want to add a cross process or make something look like toy camera, I can go ahead and do that. If I want to post something as a video, I can apply that as well and still have it in a 1-to-1 aspect ratio.
And still be able to keep looking through the finder just by tapping that little button with your finger, which is really nice.
Right, and you get to see the effect in real time.
Yep. Construction is solid on this camera. One last thing, it is Wi-Fi enabled. Could you tell us about any apps we might have to download to use that and any other functionality of Wi-Fi?
Sure, so if you're an Android user or an iOS user, you just need to look for the Panasonic Image App. For those of you out there, it's at your app store. Just go look for the Panasonic Imaging App. Once you have that, you have the ability to do things like control the camera directly from the app. And you can control just about anything in the camera directly from the app. You have the ability to transfer photos from the app to your phone, obviously, and then you can also transfer from the camera to your favorite, social media sites directly as well. Or if you want to connect it to your home network, you can connect to the home network over Wi-Fi, and you can use it as almost a tethered camera. So if you have a party at the house, you don't want to have to wait for the card, you can just have it tethered to your home network, and they can be going directly to the network. Or you can transfer photos that are already taken.
It's a great camera, soup to nuts. It's easy to look at spec sheets and all that and get excited about a camera, but in this case, I actually used it, and everything we're talking about here, I could back up by saying, yeah, I used it. It really works this way. It really, really is a great, great camera.
Well, I think it's going to be empowering for people to have such a large sensor with such a capable lens, and to be able to finally have a small camera that can shoot really shallow depths of field.
Matt, thank you very, very much.
Hey,
great
thank you.
camera.
I appreciate it.
And anybody out there looking for something of this sort, it's really just a wonderful machine to use. My name is Alan Weitz, B&H Photo. Thank you for joining us.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.